Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We've been reading from Adi Lila, chapter 13, verse 123 onwards. We'll be reading today. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Paya Manusha Janma Yena Shune Gora Guna Hena Janma Tar Vyartha Haila Paya Amrita Dhuni Piya Visha Garta Pani Janmiya Se Kene Nahi Maila. Translation: anyone who attains a human body but does not take to the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is baffled in his opportunity. Amrit Dhani is a flowing river of the nectar of devotional service. If after getting a human body one drinks the water in a poison pit of material happiness instead of the water of such a river, it would be better for him not to have lived but to have died long ago. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this connection, Srimad Prabodhananda Saraswati has composed the following verses in his Chaitanya Chandramrita 37, 36 and 34. These are the verses we'll be reading now and their translations. Achaitanyam idam vishwam yadi chaitanyam ishwaram na viduh sarva shastra jana hi api brahmayanti te jana. This material world is without Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna consciousness personified. Therefore, if a very learned scholar or scientist does not understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, certainly he is wandering uselessly in this world. Prasarit Mahaprema Piyusha Rasa Sagare Chaitanya Chandre Prakrate Yo Dino Dina Eva Saha. A person who does not take advantage of the nectar of devotional service overflowing during the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cult is certainly the poorest of the poor. Avatarine Gaura Chandre Vistirane Prema Sagare Suprakshita Prakashit Ratanoghe Yo Dino Dina Eva Saha. The advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just like an expanding ocean of nectar. One who does not collect the valuable jewels within this ocean is certainly the poorest of the poor. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.19 and 20 and 23 states, Shvavid Vara Hostra Khareh Samastutah Purushah Pashuh Nayat Karana Patho Peto Jatu Nama Gadagrajaha. Bile Baturo Krama Vikraman Ye Na Shravanataha Karana Pute Narasaya Jihva Sati Darudrikev Sutta Nachopa Gayati Urugaya Gataha. Jivana Chavo Bhagavatan Grihi Renum Na Jatu Martyo Abhila Bheta Yastu Shri Vishnu Padya Manjus Tulasaya Shvasan Chavo Yastu Na Veda Gandham. A person who has no connection with Krishna consciousness may be a very great personality in so-called human society, but actually he is no better than a great animal. Such big animals are generally praised by other animals like dogs, hogs, camels and asses. A person who does not lend his oral reception to the hearing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered to have ear holes like holes in a field. Although that person has a tongue, it is like the tongue of a frog, which unnecessarily creates a disturbance by croaking, inviting the snake of death. Similarly, a person who neither takes advantage of the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees nor smells the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord must be considered dead, even though he is supposedly working. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.1.1 10.1.4 states, Nivritta Tarshair Upagiya Manad Bhavo Sadash Shrotra Mano Abhiramat Ka Uttam Shloka Guna Nuvadat Puman Virajayet Vina Pashu Gnad. Who but the animal killer or the killer of the soul will not care to hear glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Such glorification is enjoyed by persons liberated from the contamination of the material world. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2.3.56 says, Natirthas pada sevai jivan api mrito hi saha. Although a person is apparently living, if he does not serve the lotus feet of great devotees, he is to be considered a dead body. Verse 124, Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Acharya Advaita Chandra Swarup Roop Raghunath Dasa Inha Sabar Shri Charana Shire Vandi Nija Dhana Janma Lila Gaila Krishna Das. Translation: Taking on my head as my own property the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Acharya Advaita Chandra, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, I, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, have thus described the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Advaita Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das and their followers. So first we named the 4 of the Panchtattvas in the beginning, then the Goswamis and Swarup Damodar, who was the personal assistant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, secretary, and others, and their followers are all accepted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is the writer of this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Kaviraj Goswami also accepts the lotus feet of the above mentioned lords as his personal property. For a materialistic person, material wealth and opulence are only illusory. Actually, they are not possessions but entanglements, because by enjoying the material world, a conditioned soul becomes more and more entangled by incurring debts for his present enjoyment. Unfortunately, a conditioned soul considers property for which he is in debt to be his own, and he is very busy acquiring such property, but a devotee considers such property not real property but simply an entanglement in the material world. If Lord Krishna is very pleased with a devotee, he takes away his material property, as he states in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.88.8, Yasyaham anugrihanami harishye tad dhanam shanayah. To show special favor to a devotee, I take away all his material property. Similarly, Narottam Das Thakur says, Dhana Mora Nityananda Radha Krishna Shri Charana Sai Mora Pranadhana. My real riches are Nityananda Prabhu and the lotus feet of Shri Radha and Krishna. He further prays, O Lord, kindly give me this opulence. I do not want anything but your lotus feet as my property. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in many places that his real property is the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Unfortunately, we are interested in the unreal property and are neglecting our real property. Adhane yatana kari dhana teyagino. Sometimes Marx consider Raghunath Das Goswami a Shudra, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami here especially mentions Swarupa Roop Raghunath Das. Therefore, one who considers the lotus feet of Raghunath Das to be transcendental to all divisions of the caste systems enjoys the riches of actual spiritual bliss. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, 13th chapter, describing the advent of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now we are going to begin a new chapter, chapter 14, Lord Chaitanya's past childhood pastimes. 13 was the advent of Lord Chaitanya, and now it is the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. In chapter 14, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a summary of this chapter in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. In the 14th chapter, there is a description of how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed his childhood pastimes, crawling, crying, eating dirt, and giving intelligence to his mother, favoring a Brahmana guest, riding on the shoulders of two thieves, and misleading them to his own house. And on the plea of being diseased, taking prasadam in the house of Hiranya and Jagdish on the Ekadashi day. The chapter further describes how he displayed himself as a naughty boy, how when his mother fainted he brought a coconut to her on his head, how he joked with girls of the same age on the banks of the Ganges, how he accepted worshipful paraphernalia from Srimati Lakshmi Devi, how he sat down in a garbage pit and instructed his mother in transcendental knowledge, how he left the pit on the order of his mother, and how he dealt with his father with full affection. Verse number 1. Kathanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhavet vismrite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. Purport: in his book Chaitanya Chandramrita, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says, one who receives a little favor from the Lord becomes so exalted that he does not care even for liberation, which is sought after by many great scholars and philosophers. Similarly, a devotee of Lord Chaitanya considers residence in the heavenly planets a will o' the wisp. He surpasses the perfection of mystic yoga power because for him the senses are like snakes with broken fangs. A snake is a very fearful and dangerous animal because of his poison fangs, which we call fan in Hindi and Sanskrit. But if these fangs are broken, the appearance of a snake is no cause for fear. The yoga principles are meant to control the senses, but there is no scope for the senses of one engaged in the service of the Lord to be dangerous like snakes. These are the gifts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Hari Bhakti Vilas confirms that difficult things become easy to understand if one remembers Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and easy things become very difficult to understand if one forgets him. We actually see that even those who are very great scientists in the eyes of the general public cannot understand the simple idea that life comes from life. Because they do not have the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they defend the false understanding that life comes from the matter. Although they cannot prove that this is a fact, modern civilization, therefore progressing on the basis of this false scientific theory, is simply creating problems to be solved by the so-called scientists. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita takes shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to describe the pastimes of his appearance as a child, because one cannot write such transcendental literature by mental speculation. One who writes about the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be especially favored by the Lord. Simply by academic qualifications, it is not possible to write such literature. Verse number 2. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Verse number 3. Prabhura Kahila Ei Janma Lila Sutra Yashoda Nandan Yaiche Haila Shachi Putra. I have thus described in brief the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared as the son of Mother Shachi, exactly as Krishna appeared as the son of Mother Yashoda. Purport: Srila Narottam Das Thakur confirms this statement that now Lord Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, has appeared. again as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, becoming the son of Mother Shachi. Vrajendra Nandan ye Shachi Sutta Haila se Balaram Haila Nitai. The son of Shachi is none other than the son of Mother Yashoda and Nand Maharaj, and Nityanand Prabhu is the same Balaram. Verse number 4. Sankshepe kahila janma lila anukrama ebe kahi balya lila sutrera ganana. I have already briefly spoken about the pastimes of his birth in chronological order. Now I shall give a synopsis of his childhood pastimes. Verse number 5. Vande Chaitanya Krishnasya Balya Leelam Manoharam Laukikim Api Tam Isha Cheshtaya Valitan Taram. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the childhood pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself. Although such pastimes appear exactly like those of an ordinary child, they should be understood as various pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11. This statement is confirmed as follows. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. To execute his pastimes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on this planet or within this universe like an ordinary human being or human child. Yet, he maintains his superiority as the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna appeared as a human child, but his uncommon activities, even in his childhood, like the killing of the demon Putana or the lifting of Govardhan Hill, were not the engagements of an ordinary child. Similarly, although the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as they will be described in this chapter, appear like the activities of a small boy, they are uncommon pastimes impossible for an ordinary human child to execute. Verse number 6. Balya Leelaye Aage Prabhura Uttan Shayan Pita Mataya Dekhaila Chihna Charana. In his first childhood pastimes, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks of his lotus feet. Purport: the word uttan is also used to mean lying down on the bed face upwards or lying down flat on the bed. In some readings, the word uttan, which means standing up. In his childhood pastimes, the Lord tried to catch the wall and stand up, but as an ordinary child falls down, so the Lord also fell down and again took to lying on his bed. Verse number 7. Grihe dui jana dekhi lagu pada chihna tahe shobhe dhvaja vajra shankha chakra meena. So in Hindi we say chinha, in Bengali it is chihna. When the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, the specific marks of Lord Vishnu were visible, namely the flag, thunderbolt, conch shell, disc and fish. Fish, which is mean, chakra, which is conch shell, vajra is thunderbolt, and dhvaja is the flag. Verse number 8. Dekhiya donhar chitte janmila vismaya kar pada chihna ghare na paya nishchaya. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand whose footprints they were. Thus struck with wonder, they could not understand how those marks could be possible in their home. Verse number 9. Mishra kahe bala gopala ache sheela sange tenho murti hana ghare khele jani rangi. Jagannath Mishra said, certainly child Krishna is with the Shalagram Shila, taking his childhood form. He is playing within the room. Purport: when the form of the Lord is carved from the wood, stone or any other element, it is said to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. Even logically, we can understand that all material elements are expansions of the energy of the Lord. Since the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no different from his personal body, the Lord is always present in his energy and he manifests himself on account of the ardent desire of a devotee. Since the Lord is supremely powerful, it is logical that he can manifest himself in his energy. Deity for worship or worship of the Shalagram Shila is not idol worship. The deity of the Lord in the house of a pure devotee can exactly as he can in his original transcendental personality. Verse number 10. Sei kshane jagi nimai kare krandana anke lana shachi tanre priyaila stana. While Mother Shachi and Jagannath Mishra were talking, child Nimai woke up and began to cry, and Mother Shachi took up him on her lap and allowed him to have her milk. Verse number 11. Stana piyaite putrera charan dekhila se chehna paye dekhi mishre bulaila. While Mother Shachi was feeding the child, she saw on his lotus feet all the marks that were visible on the floor of the room, and she called for Jagannath Mishra. Verse 12. Dekhiya Mishrera Haila Anandita Mati Gupte Bulaila Nilambara Chakravarti. When Jagannath Mishra saw the wonderful marks on the soul of his son, he became very joyful and privately called for Nilambar Chakravarti. Verse number 13. Chehna Dekhi Chakravarti Balena Hasya Lagna Gani Purve Ami Rakhiyachi Likhiya. When Nilambar Chakravarti, we know, is the father of Shachi Mata, saw those marks, he smilingly said, "Formerly I ascertained all this by astrological calculation and noted it in writing." Verse 14. Batrisha Lakshana Mahapurusha Bhushana E Shishu Ange Dekhi Se Sab Lakshana. There are 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality, and I see all marks on the body of this child. Verse 15. Pancha Dirgaha Pancha Sukshmaha Sapta Raktaha Shada Unnataha Tri Rishwa Hiraswa Prithu Gambhiro Dvatri Mashal Lakshano Mahan. There are 32 bodily symptoms of great personalities. 5 of his bodily parts are large, 5 fine, 7 reddish, 6 raised, 3 small, 3 broad, and 3 grave. Purport. The 5 large parts are the nose, arms, chin, eyes, and knees. The 5 fine parts are the skin, fingertips, teeth, hair on the body, and hair on the head. The 7 reddish parts are the eyes, soles, palms, palate, nails, and upper and lower lips. The 6 raised parts are the chest, shoulders, nails, nose, waist, and mouth. The 3 small parts are the neck, thighs, and the male organ. The 3 broad parts are the waist, forehead, and chest. The 3 grave parts are the navel, voice, and existence. Although these are the 32 symptoms of a great personality, this is a quotation from Samudrika. Verse 16. Narayanera Chihna Yukta Shri Hasta Charana E Shishu Sarva Loke Karibe Tarana. This baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayan on his palms and soles. He will be able to deliver all the 3 worlds. Verse 17. Aita Karibe Vaishnav Dharmera Prachar Iha Haite Habe Dui Kulera Nishtar. This child will preach the Vaishnav cult and deliver both his maternal and paternal families. Only Narayan himself or his bona fide representative can preach the cult of Vaishnavism or devotional service. When a Vaishnava is born, he delivers both his maternal and paternal families simultaneously. So we will continue our reading from verse number 18 of chapter 14 from the Adi Lila next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, and tomorrow is Tulsi Shaligram Vivaha and also the last day of the Kartik and also lunar eclipse as well, worldwide, as you all know. Hare Krishna.